Students. This session is being recorded. This workshop is brought to you by the College of Graduate Studies and the Career Center. My name is Carrie McKnight. I am one of the career counselors in the Career Center. I'm also the liaison to the College of Graduate Studies. So what that means is I am the main career counselor for graduate students. I'm also joined by Christina from College of Graduate Studies. If Christina, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Christina Velarde. I am the interim lead interim lead for evaluations. In other words, if you have spoken with your evaluator, I work with your evaluators and I manage your evaluators here at the College of Graduate Studies. And I'm happy to be here today. Thank you for including me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here, Christina. Christina is going to be helping out with the workshop, and we have some interactive points. We want to hear from all of you, and Christina is going to be sharing out your responses to some of the questions we're going to be putting out there for you. And then we also are joined by Winnie, who is a student assistant peer in the Career Center, and Winnie is going to be helping monitoring chat, and also she's sharing in chat a check-in form, a sign-in form, a Google form we hope you fill out. We use that form to follow up with students after the workshop, for example, send you the recording. So be sure to fill that out. So today we're talking about networking. We're going to go through, talk about some networking tips, some resources that we offer through the Career Center. Again, we have some points throughout our talk today. We want to hear from all of you. For example, what are you doing for networking? What advice and tips do you have for your peers here, other students today? And then, at certain points in times, I'll check in with Christina and Winnie to see if you have any questions as we go through our talk today. So to get started, what is networking? So I know you're all familiar probably with that term, but I just really want to start out kind of talking about what is it and why is it important. So networking is really just a process of interacting and connecting with others to exchange information and develop professional and social relationships. It's really one of the most important things that you can do outside of the classroom as a graduate student in terms of your career development. So we're going to talk about ways that you can get active with networking, what are the things that are available on the campus and outside of campus to help you grow a professional network. And again, it's super important for your career development now and then going forward after you finish your graduate degree at San Jose State. So what is the real story behind networking? So I know sometimes to many, it sounds maybe a little threatening. You might feel a little nervous. You might feel like you're shy. You don't know how to meet people. You maybe feel like you don't have a network. But really, the reality is networking is something you do every day. It's just really connecting with people, meeting people. It could be in the classroom. It could be on campus. It could be social activities you're doing outside of campus, at work or your internships. It's just building relationships with others. And you're really at networking all the time. So today is a networking opportunity. We're going to have you share and chat, introduce yourselves and share some information in chat. This is a networking opportunity to get to know other students and get to know all of us, College of Graduate Studies and Career Center staff. So every day really is a networking opportunity. But we are going to talk a little bit more about how you can go about it and what are some opportunities available to you and resources available for graduate students. So you already have connections. I know many times I talk to students and they say, I don't really know anybody. I don't really have any connections. But the reality is you already do. So this slide really is intended to help you kind of think about who is currently in your network, your professional network or your social network, and maybe where there's some potential there for you to grow your network, maybe where there might be some gaps or holes in your networking community. So you think about it, your peers and your classmates are part of your network. Today is an opportunity for you to connect with some of your classmates and peers and in the classroom or group projects or other things you might be doing at the university, especially as a graduate student. I mean, graduate students, many already have professional work experience, have the connections in different industries and career fields. So getting to know each other and your peers is a really important part of growing your network. Faculty and staff here at San Jose State are part of your network. Get to know your faculty, spend time with your faculty, develop relationships with them, go to their office hours. They are part of your network. Many of them have industry connections and ideas for you around jobs and internships, et cetera. So really getting to know your faculty advisors, and your faculty in the classroom. Staff, we as staff here at the university are part of your network. We have connections, we have suggestions, we have ideas of how you can grow your network. So get to know the staff at the university as well. And then student clubs and organizations. Really important part of your development as a graduate student is to be active in the campus community, in student clubs and organizations. Many of them put on events where they might bring alumni to campus or other professionals or other opportunities for you to build your network. So join clubs and organizations on campus, as well as off-campus professional associations. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Alumni, connecting with alumni from the university through LinkedIn and other platforms, and we'll talk more about that. Or developing relationships with the mentors. That's really important part of your network. And of course, if you're working coworkers, supervisors, they're part of your network. And then, how can you keep in touch with them when you move on to a new opportunity? And obviously your friends and family, they're part of your network. So you already have connections. But again, when you're looking at this slide, just think about, maybe I really need to get to know more of the faculty in my department, or maybe I really need to develop a relationship with alumni or a mentor. So think about who's already in your network and where, again, maybe are some gaps and holes that you want to intentionally build up those connections and expand your professional network. And again, this is really one of the most important activities you could do outside the classroom for your career growth and your career development is have a strong foundational network. Not only just if you're looking for a job or an internship, but also just beyond as you go forward in your career, having a really strong network can help you in so many different ways in terms of your professional development, learning about opportunities, sharing your expertise with others, something that, again, is very important to as you go forward in your career. Okay, so where to get started? So we're talking about, who's in your current network, where would you want to grow more relationships? What are some ways to put yourself out there? So you really, to get to know people, to develop a network, grow, expand your professional connections, you really have to put yourself out there. You really have to, get out there, get to events, talk to people, introduce yourself, get involved in your community. It's really, again, very important to your professional and career development. So I already mentioned joining student organizations is a great way to grow your network with your peers and other professionals that might be connected to the organization or come to campus to connect with students. Professional associations. Just about every single career field industry has professional associations connected with it. So these are opportunities for you to join organizations outside of the campus and to get to know other professionals through professional development, conferences, other types of events. Many of these professional associations have like a website for members where they maybe have networking opportunities through their platform, or maybe they have a job board through their website, and then they put on conferences. There's usually a national association, and typically there would be like a state association or even local chapter of professional groups or associations. So if you haven't joined anything like that, reach out to us in the Career Center. We have some resources to help you find professional associations. You can also talk to your faculty advisor, for example, or program coordinators. They often, again, have industry connections, aware of what's happening within your career field or industry, and they can suggest what types of professional associations or organizations you can join and become active in. Another thing that can happen is many of these associations are looking for graduate students to do things like volunteer conferences or events or get involved. So this is a really good way to build up and meet your network and meet other professionals. And of course, being active on LinkedIn. It's not enough just to have a profile. You also need to be active. So the recruiters that we work with say they really look for candidates, students who are active on LinkedIn. So they're posting their expertise. They're commenting on others' posts. Joining groups within LinkedIn. There are groups within LinkedIn connected to professional associations and career fields, getting active within those groups. So sharing information, posting on LinkedIn is really important and a great way to grow your network and kind of showcase your expertise and your knowledge. And not only just joining these associations or student organizations, but taking on a leadership role, running for office or volunteering to plan an event. Take on a leadership role. It kind of raises your profile, lets others know who you are. Good way to meet people if you're running an event. Good way to checking in people. You're organizing an event. You get to meet a lot of others that way. So not only just joining, but taking a leadership role or being active within groups and associations. Another great way to meet other people is volunteering. So if it's just a few hours a week, taking on like a volunteer opportunity in your community. something associated with your career field, or maybe not. Maybe it's just associated with a cause that you care about or something you're passionate about. Good way to meet others. And then also a good way to gain experience, develop different types of skills. So take a look at, how to volunteer. A good website to find volunteer opportunities is called idealist.org. They have a volunteer match part of the website, a good way to find opportunities. And also in Handshake, so, time to time, there are volunteer opportunities posted in Handshake. And also some volunteer opportunities on the campus. For example, the food pantry and other areas on campus that look for volunteers. And then go to conferences and networking events. So keep an eye out for conferences related to your career field or industry, or networking events, even social events, networking events. We'll talk a little bit more about how to find events. And then speak at events, speak at conferences, do a paper presentation, or try to submit a proposal to speak at a conference. That's a really good way to build up professional skills and raise your profile again, get others to know who you are, and a good way to meet other professionals if you're actually speaking or presenting at a conference or a seminar or event. And one of the other most important things you could do is do informational interviewing. So this is when you interview a professional, maybe like an alum, for example, who's working in a job or career or working for an organization that you're interested in. So this is when you meet with them, maybe in person, hopefully, or perhaps over Zoom, and ask them questions about their background. How do they get there? What's their typical day like? What do they enjoy? What challenges do they face? So you could really learn about the career or jobs that you're interested in for people actually working in them. So you're doing career research, gathering information, relevant, recent, current information about your career of interest. And at the same time, you're meeting people, you're networking at the same time. So this is really another really great way to develop relationships and learn about what's happening in your career of interest, and get some advice and tips from professionals who are already working in those areas. If you're going through a career change or shift, I know there's many graduate students who come back to get a graduate degree because they want to maybe shift into something different. Informational interviewing is a really good way to make that career transition or shift, is getting to know people, learning from them. And it says here, start out by talking to people you already know. So I have the slide with friends and family and coworkers and peers. Start out with people you already know. Do informational interview or get referrals from, maybe friends or colleagues to other professionals. So start with people you know and then grow from there. But a really easy way is just do some of these activities. They're just kind of built-in opportunities to meet people, like going to a conference, joining an association or group, volunteering. It's just sort of already built in, where you can talk to people and get to know people through that. So again, you got to put yourself out there, try some new things, get involved in the campus community and beyond, to help you meet people and grow your network. Okay, so we want to hear from all of you. As I mentioned, we're going to do a little sharing throughout our talk this afternoon. We want to hear from you. So how and where are you currently building your professional network? So are you involved in particular groups or associations, or what are you doing? So please just drop in the chat. We want to hear from all of you. What's working for you? Where are you currently building your professional network as a graduate student? Any kind of activity you've been involved in? Something that's working that you'd like other students to know about?
And Carrie, one thing about professional networks is that sometimes we think, how is that going to benefit me just today? But really, that network might reach out to you a year from now, 2 years from now. Don't underestimate people where they are today, and don't underestimate them where they may be tomorrow, where that network will really be useful.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's like, and you'd be surprised how, like I was in graduate school a long time ago. I still am in contact with some other, who are now professionals in my career field that I met as a graduate student when I was involved in different types of associations, and now I was volunteering, doing some of the things I mentioned. Still in contact with them. In fact, a couple of them work with me in the Career Center at San Jose State, believe it or not. So those things work. So yeah, so we have some things coming in.
We do.
Oh, good.
So thank you, everyone. So some people are meeting people through internships. and reaching out to people at places that they'd like to work. Some are doing volunteer work. Some are connecting with alumni from the university,
Great.
clubs based on the major.
Thank you. Those are all really good ideas.
Yeah. An
Teresa.
MLIS graduate, she is an ESL tutor and general volunteer at a library, which, by the way, did everybody see that the new Reading Rainbow host is an MLIS grad from San Jose State?
I did see that. Yeah, that's exciting. Very cool. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like we're doing some of the things we talked about, meeting people through internships, volunteering, maybe some organizations. So yeah, feel free to just keep popping that in. And if you think of something else, or maybe, like a suggestion of something an idea that's worked for you, let us know. Is there one more?
Yeah, there's meetup events so that it's in a casual setting. So that way you make friends, but at the same time, you're networking.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Again, feel free to keep sharing ideas, suggestions, what's working for you in the chat. And that's just helpful. I think I always feel like students can learn a lot from each other, what works for you and where you've had some success. Okay. Thank you for that. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Okay. So I mentioned one of really a great way to meet people is attend events, networking events, or things like job fairs, career fairs. So here's just some tips about how to, what kind of events and how to prepare for those events. So before you select an event, a networking event, or even professional development event, kind of figure out first what is your goal. So are you wanting to, are you searching for a job or an internship, or are you just wanting to meet new people, or is it more of a social or professional opportunity? So figure out what your goals are and then pick an event. And we'll talk a little bit about how to go about that, like using Handshake, for example, to find events. So select some events. I would say maybe if maybe each semester you want to think about how can I get it to a few events, and it could be in person or virtual events. So identify some goals, maybe per semester, pick some events you want to attend. And then once you select the events, make sure you're prepared. So do your homework before you attend. So if there's going to be speakers, take a look at their LinkedIn profiles, learn more about the speakers or individuals. If you know who's going to be there, that you might want to introduce yourself to. If there's organizations or companies going to be represented, visit their website and learn more about them so you can be prepared with your introduction, maybe some questions to ask. So be prepared before you go to any event. It can also help you be a little bit less nervous if you like know who's going to be there, who's represented, and then have some, introduction or some questions prepared in advance. And of course, with anything, have a positive attitude. So you want to smile. You want to have open body language so people know that you're open to conversation. Be prepared to, be engaging. Maybe practice with a friend or one of us in the Career Center before you go. Practice your introduction and smiling and interacting and being engaging. And then, dressing for the occasion. So find out if it's more business casual or more professional dress. Do some research to figure out in advance what the event is like. If you know someone who's attended, you might want to ask, like, how should I dress? How should I prepare? Gather some information. Again, it can help you be less nervous and overall just prepare before you attend any kind of job fair, networking event, conference, any opportunity where you might be meeting other professionals, setting your goals, what you want to get out of it, being prepared and just showing up with a positive attitude and ready to meet people and ready to talk with others. A little bit more about professional image. So if you're virtual or in person, again, you want to be prepared. So if it's a virtual event, you want to make sure, you've got good lighting and you've got your background set and test your audio and your video and you want to put your best self out there, professional self out there. So you don't want to have any technical issues. You want to turn your camera on, of course, if you're networking virtually. So being prepared for that. And then the same things I was mentioning, being smiling, engaging, gesturing, being involved in the conversation if you're, attending a virtual event and being, active. Like if they want you to respond in chat, do those things. You want to meet people, you want to get noticed, right? So be engaging. And then again, professional dress. You can see in these photos, they're like, they're leaning forward and they're smiling and they're gesturing, and just putting out professional image and be prepared is really important. And I'm going to mention towards the end that the Career Center has a career closet where students can pick out professional clothing a couple times a year. So we have a slide. We'll tell you about more about how you can find out about our career closet. So, getting organized ahead of time if you're going to attend either, virtually still want to dress professionally and then, or in-person events. So getting that information, gather that information, be prepared in advance. So finding events. So where can you find events? You might be thinking, okay, I that's great. I'd like to get out and about to a couple events, or 2 or 3 per semester. So on campus, every semester, the Career Center hosts job fairs and employer information sessions. So checking Handshake for those. It was really exciting. It's right there. It's right on campus. So it's pretty easy to do that. I don't know, Christina, do College of Graduate Studies have anything you can think of event-wise that you would recommend, or you heard about anything? I don't want to put you on the spot. You can think about it if you.
In terms of event-wise, so there is we do have the graduation workshop,
Okay.
and you do get to come and meet your evaluators, and we do chat with students.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so it's not quite employer oriented, but it's certainly a good place to get to know us and for us to get to know you.
That's a great idea. Yeah, because they can meet other students and then get to know all of you. And again, all just opportunities to meet others and then
Yeah,
other
and there's also
information.
the career fair, the graduate fair. I
Oh,
apologize.
yeah.
The graduate fair,
Yeah.
and
So
there you can come network with representatives from other institutions.
mhm.
And who knows, you may be looking for that for a different graduate degree or for a different opportunity or even to meet people. So,
Thank you. Yeah, so that's the graduate programs fair that happens every fall. So it's representatives of other universities coming if you're thinking about a
yes.
PhD or second master's degree. But again, all networking opportunities. So a lot happening on the campus. Some of those events are posted in Handshake, and also some students don't realize that when you go in Handshake, obviously you can look for jobs and internships in there, but there is a whole event section in Handshake. So you can find SGSU events like job fairs and employers recruitment events, also off-campus events. So employers can post their own events, like they're doing a recruitment event off campus or virtual event. Those are also in Handshake, as well as like local job fairs. Santa Clara County job fair, things like that are posted in there. So it's not just San Jose State events posted in Handshakes. It's a variety of different things. So
And
I would
Carrie,
suggest, yeah.
there is one more big one, Grad Slam. If you really
Oh, thank
want
you.
to showcase yourself, you want to be seen, you want to network with professors, you want to be in the spotlight, Grad Slam is a great one.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. That's right. That comes up in the spring. And as graduate students, you should get get messaging from College of Graduate Studies about the opportunities that Christina is mentioning. So check your student email. Also, the College of Graduate Studies newsletter comes out once a month with events and things listed in there as well. So yeah, so check Handshake, maybe have a kind of schedule, maybe one every couple of weeks, go on Handshake, see what upcoming events. We're always updating, and employers are, it's always new information in the events tab. So, and plus, meetups, and there are other websites you can use to find local events. But, virtual and person, just make sure you are getting out, talking to people, or getting online virtually and meeting other professionals and peers. Okay, so we're going to go to some events, either virtual or in person. We need to be prepared. So I already mentioned doing some research, figuring out who's going to be there, how you want to dress, gathering all that information, thinking about what questions you want to ask. But you really need to obviously introduce yourself and connect with people. That's the purpose of going to these events, either, again, virtual or in-person events. So we're going to talk here a little bit about different ways to introduce ourselves, and then also knowing your audience. Who are you going to be talking to or meeting at a conference or a job fair or wherever you might be going? So we're going to talk about a couple different things here. One is called professional small talk. So that's more maybe informal setting, possibly more with like peers or colleagues. Doesn't have to be career oriented. Could be or cannot be. It's more just having a conversation. So, for example, maybe you go to a conference and it's lunchtime and you're sitting at a table with some colleagues or peers or other graduate students. How can you start a conversation, introduce yourself, get to know others? And there's also the professional pitch, also known as an elevator speech. This is more formal setting, like a recruitment event or a job fair. This is where you're going to be talking to employers or recruiters, and it's really career focused, career and education focused. So we're going to go through a little bit here, talk about what's the difference between these two things, and then ask you to do a little sharing with small talk and also professional pitches. Okay, small talk. So this is the idea of, again, maybe more casual setting or just with colleagues or peers, not necessarily like recruiters or employers, possibly at a conference or a type of networking event where you really want to introduce yourself and you want to get to know others who might be attending the same event. You see in this photo, maybe sitting at the same table, listening to speakers at like a conference or a seminar. So the first thing is practicing introducing yourself. So this is not the pitch. We'll talk about the pitch. This is just, hi, my name is Carrie, and I'm a graduate student at San Jose State. Just a very simple introduction. And then you want to prepare in advance how you're going to engage in conversation. So you don't want to just introduce yourself and just stop. You want to encourage them to respond and have a conversation with you. And you could practice these things in advance. I know I often hear from students, they say, I'm shy or I get nervous. So practicing these in advance before you go to an event can be really helpful. So practicing with friends or family, or you can meet with us in the Career Center and we can practice with you, just introducing yourself and having this kind of more of a casual conversation. And so again, the purpose, if you're going to go to an event, if it's professional development, you obviously want to learn, or if you're at a conference, learn things, of course, but you also really want to meet people and get to know other professionals or colleagues in your career field. So practicing introducing yourself, asking open-ended questions. So think in advance what you might want to ask others, things you might be curious about, meeting other people, starting a conversation, and then practice active listening. So that's really trying to pay attention what the other person is saying, nodding, engaging with them. I know if we're nervous, sometimes we're like not really listening to the other person because we're so focused on what am I going to say next or how is this person going to respond. So then practice that, really listening. And then I think one thing that really is helpful and can really help you start these conversations is just being curious about other people. Just show interest in them and be curious about them and listen to what they have to say. So just showing some interest, enthusiasm for the other person or the group of people that you're meeting. So just enthusiasm, listening to them, showing just really genuine interest in who they are and what they have to say. And again, I think this is something you could really practice in advance to feel more comfortable with, focusing on what the other person is saying, asking open-ended questions, and then not being distracted, like, for example, put your phone away and just really focusing on that other person. It's kind of like the idea was between informational interviewing is really just being curious about the other person, really wanting to learn what they have to say, and just focusing your energy on getting to know other people. And that comes across. I think that really opens up the conversation and people really feel like, wow, this is a nice conversation. I can tell this person really cares about what I have to say, and they're listening, and they're showing some real genuine interest in who I am and what I have to say. And then, you want to avoid any controversial topics, obviously politics, especially right now in this climate. You want to keep this, again, this is just casual conversation just to get to know other people. So let's think a little bit here about what are some conversation starters. So what might you talk about, at a networking event or a conference, or even like at an event on campus that you might attend. Just some easy things would just be sort of like, what are your surroundings? So maybe if you're off campus at an event somewhere and you just maybe want to talk about the location of, or the venue itself, the space where the meeting room, something about that. It's a nice space with windows, or they really have really top-notch technology, or just, something you can just have a conversation with another person, the person you're sitting next to, about the venue or the location. Easy one is food, restaurants. If you're having a lunch or meal at the event, commenting on the food, asking questions about the food, or local restaurants. You see this example here of a conversation starter is, maybe just asking someone who's attending the same event with you, maybe perhaps you're out of town or out of your local area. You could ask someone, do you live in the local area? Can you recommend a restaurant nearby? So people usually food is a good casual conversation starter that's pretty easy to kind of engage with other people about. Something happening in entertainment or sports, you could ask them about their, streaming something on Apple TV that they're enjoying, or Netflix, or if they know anything about some good movies coming out, or are they following Warriors basketball or some kind of sport, or just asking them about, what are their interests, what kinds of fun things do they like to do, what kind of entertainment do they enjoy. And another easy one is the weather, right? I see the rain is in the forecast, or have you seen this or heard that, or what do you think about, the weather, what's happening in your local area? That's always an easy one. And that could be career interests. Like, so the conversation starters or the small talk doesn't have to be career focused, but you could ask someone else what graduate program they're in, or what are they interested in doing after they finish their master's degree. I mean, it could be part of a conversation starter or more casual conversation. But these are just some ideas of how to start conversations. You might kind of create your own list of conversation starters. And then before you attend any kind of event, have some things in mind that you might want to ask about. And then get just things that you're curious about other people, that you might want to know what you share in common with them, or just ways to get to know other people. But the idea is you want to start a conversation. So it shouldn't just be like one question and stop. It's like, how can you open the conversation, show genuine interest in the person, listen to them, and then grow that conversation into something that more meaningful, that you might end up staying in touch with this person and having them kind of be part of your professional network. That's really what we're trying to achieve, getting to know people and connecting with others that help us grow our professional network. Okay, so we're going to practice right now. So this is just a question, and we want to hear from you. And just you could introduce yourself to others if you'd like in the chat. And then this question is just, what's your favorite study spot and why? So it could be on campus, off campus. Where do you like to study? And then just put that in chat. And then if you'd like to introduce yourself, maybe say what graduate program you're in, and where do you feel like is your favorite spot? Could be at home, it could be at the library. And this is just an example, really. It's an example of a kind of like a conversation starter, something that you could, talk to maybe fellow graduate students about. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and just share in chat, like, where do you like to study? And what works for you and why?
And so I was going to say, I often approach Carrie networking sort of like a role that I have to play, and I keep my end goal in mind. My end goal is to meet as many people as possible, or to really connect with someone. So everything I do and say is going to reflect that I'm looking to connect with someone. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, but people's favorite topic is actually themselves.
Yeah.
People really like to talk about themselves. So, but I think in terms of my favorite spot to just relax and maybe study, the library. There's some great places in the library. So I don't know if other people have other places they go to maybe relax or study. At home. Yeah, coffee is free at home. That is a great place. And coffee is a great conversation topic. You'd be surprised how many people love Starbucks.
Yeah.
And let's see, in your room, because you have your resources, yeah, that can be very important. It can be very important that you have access to what you need to study.
What are some others?
Let's see. Anywhere else? On the benches, I also so here's a little something I probably shouldn't be saying. Sometimes you can find me on the benches as well. So on the benches to study is really great.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those. And I see some of you are introducing yourselves to other students. Thank you for that. Again, this is a networking opportunity. If you want to connect with others, you could also put your link to your LinkedIn profile in chat while we're talking this afternoon too. If you guys want to stay connected with each other.
Oh, and by the way, I keep hearing about the mice. I actually had a squirrel once come up and rub its tail against me to try and make friends. So,
There are so many squirrels in that one area towards the library. It's just it's amazing.
yeah.
So I see something about more about library, oh, student union. Yeah, I see a lot of students in there. Yeah. So those and back to what you're saying, Christina, thank you for mentioning that people like to talk about themselves. I mean, that is just a really good way to start a conversation. Just ask the other person something about, if it's career related or just what other interests they have or what they're doing now, what projects they're working on. I mean, there's just, generally, I think just like I said, having that kind of curiosity about others really can help start a conversation and potentially build relationships. Anything else for where we like to study and
There's a few in the student union. The library and the student union. Apparently, there's a good spot on the seventh floor in the library.
oh, I see that. Good views. Yeah, that sounds peaceful. Good views.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you
And
for sharing those. Anything else? Go ahead,
one thing
Chris.
did want to mention, Carrie, and this is just more from experience, is please put your phones away. So
Yeah.
while you're chatting with people, I know we all have that temptation to pull out our phone, but nothing isolates us more from other people than staring at our phones.
Yeah, I know. Because I think that's kind of like if you're just on your phone and the people feel like they don't want to interrupt you. So if you just, I know sometimes it feels safe to have your phone in front of you. Like if, but then it looks like you don't want to talk to anybody. So you've got to kind of get more comfortable and just being there, sitting there, or wherever you are, and being again kind of that body language of being open to meeting other people, talk to people. Okay, well, thank you for sharing favorite study spots. Feel free to keep popping those in if something comes to mind, or just introducing yourself if you'd like, or sharing LinkedIn profile links if you'd like to stay connected with other students. Okay, so now we'll move to the pitch. So this is the one with it's otherwise known as an elevator speech. So this is the one that you would do more in a formal career setting, like a job fair, recruitment event, maybe possibly at a conference if there's employers or others there that you might meet as part of the event. So you've probably heard of these before. This is kind of like your personal commercial where it's 30 to 60 seconds, a short introduction. Again, really commonly used at an event like a job fair. And so this is when you would say your name, of course, what graduate program you're in. If it's off campus, you would mention where you're, attending a graduate program at San Jose State. Maybe a little bit about some of your interests or goals that would be relevant to that employer or to the type of event you're attending. What are you looking for? You might mention if you're looking for a job or internship or what you might be seeking at that time. Touch a little bit on some experiences or maybe some of your projects in your graduate program, or maybe a key accomplishment related to your graduate program or your career. And then you want to ask a question. So you want a short pitch of who you are, maybe a bit about your background, your interests, maybe a key accomplishment. And then kind of the same thing as the conversation starter, where you want to have some kind of question. You want to engage with the recruiter. You want to have a question you want to ask them. So right now, we're going to ask you in a couple minutes to introduce yourself in this pitch format. It doesn't have to be perfect, or if you already have a pitch that you've used, if you got it somewhere, you can paste in chat in a couple of minutes here. No pressure. This is just a way to introduce yourself, but maybe think a little bit about this as I'm talking, so we can share with each other and see some examples of pitches that all of you are using as graduate students. Okay, here's an example. So this would be, in a career fair, job fair setting. So the students say, "Hi, my name is June. I'm a graduate student at San Jose State." Introduce himself to recruiter, and the recruiter might respond, hopefully, "Nice to meet you," and introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself. So here's an example. Again, there's really want this to be short. The idea behind that is, job fairs offer very busy places or recruitment events where the recruiters have got a lot of students to talk to. So you want to keep this pretty short and to the point. So this student is saying, I'm excited about digital branding, helping companies with their social media, their vision, and helping them with their social media. The student had done some research, as I mentioned, and looked at this employer on Handshake before they came to the job fair, and they saw on Handshake that they're currently hiring a social media marketing role. And then they're going to mention a project that they worked on. So they just complete a project, using Nike. to get awareness around their Instagram, Facebook views. And then this is part of a class project. This is something they're really proud of. So they're mentioning this project. And they're just saying, this is kind of my goals. I would love to use these skills and the knowledge I've gained from my graduate program or my projects with a company like yours. And then finally the question, can you tell me about the role that you have open? Or maybe there's something more, if you've already read the description on a handshake, maybe there's something more particular you want to know about the job or the role they're hiring for, or maybe something about the company or organization if you've done your research in advance. So yeah, something pretty short. What who you are, what graduate program you're in, what are you working on right now, maybe a little bit about your goals, and then kind of tying that back to that company or organization or that recruiter that you're engaging with and talking with. So again, pretty short. Want to keep it under a minute. You might need to have different versions that depending on who you're talking to. So tailored, customized versions of your pitch if you're, again, depending on what kind of event you're attending or depending on who you're speaking with, if it's recruiters, hiring managers, etc. Okay, so we want you to share in chat now. Have you used professional pitches or elevator speeches at some point? If so, where? So if you've attended a job fair or some other kind of event or networking event or conference. So let us know if you've used one, and if so, where. So just give us some context so we can get some ideas of where we might use a professional pitch. And then if you have something, an introduction, share your pitch in the chat. So again, no pressure. I mean, if you don't have anything ready, that's fine. Or if you just want to do a quick one, just what graduate programming, maybe a little about your career goals or interests would be great. And I'll have Christina will read some of those out for us. So again, we just get ideas from each other. We're just practicing here how to introduce ourselves. Even if you don't have time to put together something that follows that exact format, just introduction about what program you're in, maybe a little bit about some of your career interests, or maybe a project or something you're really proud of that you'd like to use as part of your introduction. And first, to just have you used a professional pitch, and in what setting?
And I think the professional pitch is something that after a while you learn to memorize, and you can sort of just say it if you bump into someone.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, hi, my name is Christina Velarde. I work at Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluations. I'm a lead evaluation specialist. I've been there for so many years. You just kind of learn, you write it out the first time, and then after a while practicing, you can almost say it to a number of people you meet.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then one thing too, like first we have towards the end here, Winnie will be sharing some links to some of our Career Center resources. One is our job internship search guide that has a worksheet in there with a sample, kind of like I shared, and you can like type, it is a downloadable form, you can type it out. So like the first time, maybe do that, and then over time it will come more naturally to you. And then there's kind of that fine line too, like you want to be prepared with it, but you don't want to sound too scripted. So there's sort of getting that balance of knowing what you want to say, but then kind of, maybe making it a little bit more natural sounding. So that's another thing to practice. And again, you can schedule an appointment in the Career Center. There's a topic, networking is one of our appointment topics, and you can meet with us to practice small talk, professional pitch, or just talk a little bit more about your networking strategy. So we can definitely meet with you to go with that. So is anybody saying anything? We're kind of quiet on this one. Okay, maybe there's one.
Okay. So somebody has been unintentionally given an elevator pitch with classmates when we have our initial group meetings. So have friends been using elevator pitches, or maybe classmates at group meetings?
Oh, is
Apparently
this
someone has heard it.
that's a good idea. So is this, you were asked to do this as part of a class? Is that what's?
No,
Never
I,
seen
I
it
what I mean,
really.
like when I first have group meetings with classmates, now that I'm listening to you both explain these elevator pitches, it's kind of like when you're first getting to know our group classmates, it's like, oh, you get this little 2 minutes to talk about yourself and what you're studying, and as you get to know each other in the group. So I'm realizing, hey, I've kind of been practicing elevator pitches, and I didn't realize it's got, a need kind of moving forward.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, you're totally right. You're probably some of these things are probably already many of you are doing, like conversation starters and pitches. It's now just maybe thinking more strategically about different situations and where you would use different forms of introductions and different way of trying to get to know people. Do we have some examples? Anything coming in? I think.
So we have some who have been in interviews, and we have some students who have been at conferences. So I don't know if Kerry would be open to hearing maybe somebody who has feels they have a good elevator pitch.
Yeah, sure. If anybody feels to put in chat or unmute, just like Jennifer did, if you want to just introduce yourself using a pitch type format, we'd love to hear from you.
So I can read this one. Hi, my name is Harneet Dillon. Sorry if I mispronounced it. And I'm a master's student at SJSU studying software engineering. I graduated last year from UCSC and earned a bachelor's in CS. I previously interned twice at Cisco as a data science intern and just completed an SWE internship at Matterport this past summer. I enjoy back-end software development with Python, and I'm currently working on an API testing project for my master's capstone project. Would you tell me more about the software engineering role at X company? That's a great pitch.
Yeah, thank you. Very good. Thank you. Excellent. Perfect. Yeah, touched on all the right kind of highlighting interests and some goals there and things that you're working on, and then tying it into asking a question. That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anything else, or just examples of, where have you used these? Have you, like, a great, example, Jennifer said, I've already been doing this when I'm meeting my classmates to work on a project. Any other pitch examples, or just where you might have used them? Maybe outside, because obviously the job fair would be a spot, but if there's any other format or situation that you've used one or think you might use one, let us know. Okay, well, I think we got a little bit quiet on this one, but if anything else, is there something new coming in?
No, but I do think we do this every day without realizing. It's just a matter of formalizing it and making it a bit more structured so that we have purpose and intent when we're introducing ourselves.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so just something that you're probably already doing, but as we've been saying, it's just kind of developing a little bit of a strategy and preparing different versions depending. I think that's part of the thing, is just depending on the situation where you are, having different versions of how to introduce yourself and engage with others. Really with the goals, we're trying to get to know people, we're trying to build a professional network. Okay, well, we'll go on. If anybody has anything, of course, just feel free to pop that in. Is there a question or, I think it's okay. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, so we're talking about attending events, virtual events, in person, trying to get to know people, and what are some ways to follow up? So you don't want to just have this one-time conversation and then that's it. So really the idea is that we want to stay connected and in touch with the recruiters or the colleagues or professionals or alumni that we might be meeting online or in person through various different settings. So after you attend any kind of event or have a conversation with a professional, make some notes. So as soon as you're home or have an opportunity, take notes about the conversations, meaningful conversations, individuals that you want to stay in touch with, so that you keep that fresh in your mind. And then follow up with them. So connect with them on LinkedIn, or if they gave you your contact information, send them an email and thank them for their time or how much you enjoyed the conversation, or so keep in touch with them. So take notes and make sure you have a plan for follow-up. Again, so the goal is not just one-off conversations. It's how are we going to stay in touch with these individuals who can help me with my career development, and then maybe in turn I may help them down the line, right? So developing and maintaining relationships is our goal here. And if someone suggested something to you, let's say you're talking to an alum at an event or connected with them on maybe LinkedIn or another platform, and they said, I really think you could benefit from taking this LinkedIn learning course, or I really think, maybe read this book. I read this book and it really helped me in my career development or my career planning. Take their suggestion and then let them know. Thank them. Gosh, I read that book. That was really helpful. I attended that conference you mentioned, or I took this online course or certification that you suggested. Thank them and let them know that you followed up on their advice. Especially again, if it's a professional alum that's spending time with you, like doing an informational interview with you, and they're giving you advice and tips, follow up on that and thank them for their suggestions. Set up some kind of system to track your activities and your interaction. So if that's a spreadsheet or whatever works for you, have a way just to keep track of here's the events I want to attend, or here's these individuals I want to connect with, and then tracking that so you have a schedule for yourself, and then figure out how to do the follow-up. So it's not just like, oh, I introduced myself and I'm never going to meet this person again. It's like, okay, how am I going to follow up with them? So have some system of tracking your networking activities. And as part of that, maybe set some goals for yourself. Like, what are your networking goals, maybe per semester? And as I'm saying, just maintain contact and nurture the relationships. And it doesn't always have to be, you can also provide advice and tips to undergraduate students, or you can be a mentor, or you can, help do an a student, an undergrad student, maybe do an informational interview with you. So it's a two-way street. You want advice and tips and from professionals, maybe alumni and mentors, but you also can be a mentor and provide those tips and advice for others. So think about it that way, and nurturing these relationships, again, kind of a two-way street. But I think, a big thing here is following up after any kind of interactions or events, and then making sure you keep on track with your activities and set some goals for yourself, maybe by semester. Okay. I don't know if we need to share. We're kind of coming to the end a little bit here. Share the sign-in form again, just to make sure students have filled that out, because we'll be sending you a follow-up email with the recording and the slides and some links to some resources. I just want to make sure we have that going as well. Okay, so Winnie is going to be sharing in the chat some resources that you can use to kind of in connection to our conversation here. So we have our job internship search guide. We have several career guides on our website. If you have not checked that out, if you go to the Career Center website, there's a drop-down menu for students and has all of our resources. And there's a page with all of our career guides, or PDF, downloadable, printable career guides on various topics like resume writing, LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn guide, etc. So in the job search guide, there is that worksheet I mentioned to help you develop your pitch. So it gives an example. You can download it, fill it out to develop or improve your professional pitch. I don't think that we do have a LinkedIn guide, and I guess it's not on this page, but we do have a separate LinkedIn guide on the Career Guides page that has tips on how to use LinkedIn for networking, how to improve your profile. So that's another guide that we have. I have not mentioned this platform yet today, but we do have what's called SJSU Squared Mentoring and Meetups. So it's a website platform that brings together students and alumni for things like informational interviewing, career advice, networking. Alumni groups sign up on the platform to be available to help support students, to give career advice, to meet with students, also to do things like serve on a career panel and things like that. So we have a lot of alumni on there. You could just go to the Career Center website. Winnie's going to put links to these, and then go in and look through the profiles, kind of like LinkedIn. You can see the alumni are signed up, message them through there, and maybe see if they would be available for informational interviewing, or maybe you just have some questions about, when you're looking for some career advice and career tips. So it's really about mentoring, career advice, inside of the SJSU Squared. And then using the LinkedIn alumni search feature on LinkedIn. If you go to the San Jose State page on LinkedIn, there's a way to search for alumni. And that's a good way to reach out for things like informational interviewing, again, career advice, connecting with our alumni. It's a good place to start your networking, because you can always use something in common with them. You can say, oh, I see you're a graduate of the MLS program. I'm a current student. I would love to learn more about you. And, maybe can I do an informational interview or 15 minutes of your time? I have a few questions about the library you work at. So check that out. And then I hope you all know that as a student, you have free access to LinkedIn Learning courses. So here's an example, and I'll send the slides to all of you, of a course on LinkedIn Learning for professional networking for career starters. That's just one. There's a bunch of them. There's just one that we came across that we wanted to suggest to students for, to come up with a networking strategy, maybe get some additional ideas from what we've talked about today. So those are some of our resources. We've got a lot of resources on our Career Center website, digital tools, career guides. You can find our events calendar there. So if you haven't checked out our website, we've got a lot of links and resources for students on networking and a lot of other career related topics. I referred to this earlier on. A couple things I want to mention kind of in connection to networking is our professional branding. So we have our career closet, so students can get free professional outfits for job interviews or for job fairs in the Career Center. So we have walk-ins available. We don't need to make an appointment. In Clark Hall, we're in the process of moving. So half the Career Center's in Clark Hall, the other half is still in the administration building, but the career closet is in Clark Hall. You see on the slide, we have walk-ins available. So you can show we have dressing rooms, everything, and you pick out professional clothing. Then we also have our professional headshots. So if you want to update your headshot for LinkedIn or your Handshake account, you can come in and do professional headshot at the Career Center. Again, walk-ins available for that. So those are some resources to help you with your professional image, help you get ready for job fairs or networking events and things you might be attending and being involved with for your networking. Some next steps here, some ideas for you to get started. Pretty much a review of what we've already talked about is connecting with alumni and SJC Squared and LinkedIn, doing informational interviewing, attending events, joining professional associations and becoming active with those, as well as student organizations, becoming active, taking on leadership roles or volunteering to help out at events, joining associations and groups, reaching out to your faculty and keep in contact with them. Like I said, visit their office hours, keep in touch with your faculty. They often have, as I mentioned, industry connections or ideas for you around professional associations to join or other activities to get involved in. So connect with your faculty and staff here at the university. And then you can make an appointment on Spark Connect for career counseling, including if you want to talk more about networking or networking strategies or practice your pitch or small talk, you can make an appointment for that. So I think we just have about a minute here. This is, if you want to give us feedback, I can also send this link in the follow-up email where I'll send the recording and the slides with the links. Give us some feedback about our workshop today. And then
I wanted to
anything
say
else?
thank you, Carrie, and thank you, students, graduate students, for the opportunity to meet with you. This has been very enjoyable, and I wish you the best of luck in your job search. And if the College of Graduate Studies and/or GATE can be of any assistance, just let us know.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina, for co-hosting with me. And thank you, Winnie, for all the links and resources. And this is just a mention of, I already said we're moving to Clark Hall. This is where the Career Center is located, but half of us are kind of in process of moving. And if you have any questions about like your Handshake account or some upcoming events, you can always send an email to careerhelp@sjsu.edu. My contact information is also on the website if you want to reach out to me directly. And again, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate your participation in the chat. We enjoy hearing from you, and thank you for all of that. And if there's any questions,